Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned into the entertainment edition of the ODPH, and we definitely want to keep that conversation going with you after this podcast. So make sure to swing on over to odphpodcast.com. Join in the conversation on the social media accounts. They're all right there on the front page. We can't make it any easier to follow and interact with us than that. What else can we say, Pat?
Not much. It's pretty simple.
Exactly. Parlay Points blogs are up right now, so if you need comic book recommendations, we got a stacked lineup this week. Holy smokes. One of the best ones on record, I gotta say. And we get great books sent to us, too. But this is some exceptional work this week. The TeePublic Store, link is right there. The Patreon, one tier, $2 a month, and some fun stuff coming down the road. I haven't gone in there and done a deep dive in lately, but I think so, because we've obviously had a very busy week. If you're following the ODPH, which how do you follow? You swing on over the directory. We're on every single provider we can find. We have links right there, so we can't make it any more easier to follow and become one of the ODPH Society. All that and so much more can be found at odphpodcast.com, and always remember on social media to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Kicking off this edition of the show, though, we have to recap a polarizing show, if you will, that is really generating a lot of buzz in the good sense now. I know when it first was getting announced, and obviously we're hearing about review bombing and all that kind of nonsense. I even hate saying it. That's why I botch up saying the word. We have been really following the show, and 2 episodes in, I got to say, Marvel Studios has got a hit on their hands.
Absolutely. Looking at the scores on Rotten Tomatoes, the critic rating average score is, the average tomato meter for the critics is 88%, and then on the audience side, 78%, both of which very good.
Yeah, it's very good because obviously when you're dealing with the fandoms, everybody's got an opinion, but you have to go based on what you like, and we always stress that here, that be your own critic.
Everything's not for everyone, you know? People have different tastes.
Exactly. And this show definitely has won us over because we really weren't sure what we were going to get when we heard that She-Hulk Attorney at Law was getting announced. Obviously, we know Tatiana Maslany was going to be playing the title role of Jennifer Walters. And after that, it was going to be, what are they going to take from the source material? Is it going to be the John Byrne run, Dan Slott, Charles Soule? You had a lot to work with because She-Hulk is a very well-known character in the Marvel Comics universe. So obviously, hearing it was coming to the small screen, we had a lot to think about with this project. What were they going to go? What was the direction? How was the vibe? We saw the previews for it. Definitely gave off some very good energy. Breaking the fourth wall a la Deadpool. But if you know the character, this is nothing new. But now 2 episodes in, there's a lot to discuss with it. And we have to recap episode 2 because definitely was building a lot towards the direction of the show. So if you're new to the ODPH Society, what we'd like to do is give a spoiler-free statement about the show. And then after the countdown, we go deep diving. So if you need to pause to catch up on the episode so you don't have anything ruined, we fully respect that. We put that in the liner notes for you. That's the extra mile we go for you. But like we say, after the countdown, it is fair game, so consider this your warning. So, Pad, that being said, spoiler-free statement on episode 2 of She-Hulk entitled Superhuman Law.
Thought it was a good episode. Thought it was a good test and a good flavor for what the show going forward is going to be like. Obviously, last week was kind of like an origin story, very focused on She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, and then Bruce Banner. But this one, I think, is kind of like the start of how things are going to go and just the overall vibe of how you're going to get the show, and I enjoyed it.
I fully agree. I thought that this was a very solid episode. It didn't blow me away like, oh my gosh, like I really need to go do a rewatch immediately. But that's the one thing about this show is they're taking their time building this world of Jennifer Walters. It is one that is capturing fans' attention because this is something that we really haven't seen too much of in the MCU. And I know that there's some comparisons with Deadpool about, you're breaking the fourth wall. Yes and no. I don't think it does as much fourth wall breaking as Deadpool does, but it does enough that it gives a new kind of look to the MCU that we really haven't seen too much of, and it's working and establishing this character because this show is not going to be your traditional superhero show, and I think that's very well established out the gate. So that said, I thought episode 2 really did a nice job about establishing the direction we're going in. I think it's perfectly fine, and I'm very interested to see what we do for episode 3. So that being said, in 3, 2, 1, Pad, talk to me.
Thought it was a really good episode. I enjoyed, some of the stuff they did with it. Love the hell out of the homage to the previous incarnations of Bruce Banner in the movies.
Yes.
That was awesome. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode.
I thought it was very, very interesting to see how they're setting up the Abomination. That I thought the character take was very, very ingenious. Because obviously we know that the Abomination, who is a long-time Hulk villain, we saw him in the Incredible Hulk movie, whether you care to admit you saw it or not.
Right.
He was there. Tim Roth is reprising the role as Emil Blonsky. And I thought the take that they had for him was very, very interesting. Because where we jump into this episode, though, it takes a little while to get there. But obviously, coming off the heels of episode 1, Jennifer Walters turns into She-Hulk during a court appearance and takes care of Titania, who is one of her noteworthy supervillains.
Yep.
And so it's kind of a quick throwaway moment, but much in this digital age, anything you do is caught on camera and it's gone on social media. So welcome to the world of TMZ and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Jennifer Walters is now getting used to the public now knowing her secret that, well, she can turn into a Hulk. And she gets dubbed by the public She-Hulk.
And she even says, boy, I hope that doesn't stick.
Yeah, exactly. But it definitely works. And Bruce Banner is laughing hysterically from this.
I told you so.
Yeah, because he gave the fair warning. He said, once you have powers, there's a whole new realm of responsibility that you are going to get exposed to that you're not ready for.
No.
And this is why you had the whole pamphlet or syllabus of what you need to do as Superhero 101.
They'll say Superhero 101. It was, here's what you should do. Here's what you shouldn't do. And she's like, yeah, no, I got this.
Yeah, but you know what I thought was the most interesting part of this is when she's on the phone with him.
Yeah.
He's in that spaceship that was taking him out that caused the initial car accident. So I thought that was an interesting play.
That's certainly setting up some things that the internet is speculating on quite a bit.
Yeah, but so let's talk about that right now. Do you think we're doing Planet Hulk?
I think so. Why else would he be going into space? Now, granted, it could be to help with Sword and whatever Nick Fury's got going on. But why would an alien spacecraft pick him up? Why wouldn't it be, a Sword spacecraft? So I can see this with some folks saying, oh, well, it's got to be for a Sword. Well, why wouldn't it be a Sword spacecraft in space or a Kree or a Skrull spacecraft? Why is it this random spacecraft? I'm leaning towards, they're going the other way.
There's a couple things I have to break down with this because the ship we know is tied to the Grandmaster from the Guardians of the Galaxy realm.
Yep.
So is this the prelude of how he got picked up originally for Thor Ragnarok? Like,
no.
That was one thing I was thinking, like, maybe.
No.
Because otherwise, it's like, well, how are you going back to Planet Hulk now? Like, it's kind of an interesting dynamic with it because obviously you've read the comic. The Illuminati sent him up there. Well, I should say some of them. So this becomes now an interesting play if they're going to try doing that. Now, I want to say this on record. I would love it if they did Planet Hulk. I don't think they're going to. There's too many moving parts involved because if they do Planet Hulk, they have to do World War Hulk. And if you haven't read that comic, that ties in everybody from the MCU. Would I love to see it? Absolutely. I can't stress that enough. It's one of my favorite comic stories of all time. But to pull it off logistically with the cinematic universe, that's going to be difficult.
So in terms of when this comes out, there was a interview done with one of the writers or the writer of this episode of She-Hulk, which I believe is Jessica Gao, Gao, where she did an interview with the Direct, where she said, quote, "It's definitely after post-Endgame. There actually is a Marvel person whose job it is to trace the timeline of everything, and we checked with him a lot about where the timing is. And so it's like the show is a few years after Endgame," close quote.
Okay, so that eliminates that. It's just kind of very interesting that he was getting the ship coming after him in the first place, and now all of a sudden he's on board with it. Like, I know they're going to explain it, but just for right now, looking how both episodes did, I thought that was very odd. Just because, obviously, it looked like he was getting attacked the first time that caused the accident, but maybe not. Maybe you're right. It's going to be Sword, and he's going to wind up showing up later.
See, I don't think it was him getting attacked in the first one. I think it was just them going, hey, hi, and because it wasn't Banner driving, it was Jennifer. she's not used to this crap. And she went, holy shit, and wrecked the car. Now, granted, Bruce probably would have too, but I think given the fact he would have reacted a little less crazily because he's the Hulk. He's an Avenger. He's used to this.
Yes. So that being said, it'll be interesting to see how his story takes off from here because I don't think he's going to be done with the series.
Probably not.
In theory.
Probably not.
But regardless, we see Jennifer Walters going out to have a drink and celebrate. And unfortunately, she doesn't really have much to celebrate.
No.
What happens, Pat?
She gets fired from her job because it's deterred. Well, so the case she was initially trying got thrown out because, well, it was deemed by the judge that there's no way the jury could come to a fair, what's the word I'm looking for?
Impartial.
Thank you. Impartial conclusion based on the events that took happen. So the case got thrown out. And then it's then determined, well, if we're going to be trying, superpowered peoples or anything really, it's going to be hard for juries to be impartial when you're in the room because you're going to be beloved by the people. So we got no use for you. Bye.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting take, but it makes sense. And I do respect that fact because you really are not going to get an impartial jury, especially if you're a hero, let alone you're related to the Hulk. And in current timeline, the Hulk is very well loved because he's one of the Avengers. So it does play in that fact, and obviously you're tying in that whole real-world aspect, even though they do go back to the whole drinking thing where when she's the Hulk, she's not feeling anything, but when she goes back to Jennifer Walters, she's completely intoxicated. So I love how they played that off a little bit. So as you see, she's getting fired, and then she is trying to find work because obviously she's
got bills.
She's got bills, and she also can't get hired anywhere because, well, she's She-Hulk, and that's too much of a liability for any firm. So I do love that aspect that they tied the real-world sense into it because you do blur the lines a little bit, because usually in comics they just kind of look the other way and go, oh well, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I would say something tells me that a workplace's insurance company or their insurance policy doesn't exactly include a clause for damage via superhero. I think most insurance companies are going to file that one under acts of God. Yes.
So it's an interesting play there, and then she goes and has a quick moment with her family.
Yep.
And I have to say, I'm with our guy, Dre Driven. I marked out at who her dad was. Because, Pat, do you know who Mark Lynn-Baker is?
No.
He was from the 1980s sitcom Perfect Strangers.
Okay.
And I love that show. That was one of my old school 80s favorites right there. So seeing him on screen, I marked out too. And Dre obviously posted that for his review as well. Such a cool moment to see. And obviously giving Jennifer Walters a little perspective about where her career is going, and just being a very supportive family there too, because you see an interesting dynamic there as well. So I do love how they played that off. But she gets a little bit lucky because she gets offered a job out of nowhere. And who is that by?
It is an opposing counsel, Goodman, Lieber, Klertzberg, and Holloway, or GLK and H.
Yes.
And she just goes, yes.
Yeah, she immediately takes the job. So it's a cool moment there, too, and obviously that law firm is very familiar from the comics as well. So that's a very cool play that she does. But when she goes in there, she's approached by one of the partners and says, well, we're hiring you to head up our new superhuman law division. So we really just want you to be She-Hulk 24/7.
Yep.
Which she's kind of a little reluctant about.
Yeah.
But she winds up doing this as well.
Hey, it's a paycheck.
Exactly. So she's doing it, and then they go, well, your first client is going to be Emil Blonsky.
Yeah. And she immediately goes, conflict of interest here. He tried to kill my cousin.
Yes. So she does make that call that we mentioned earlier about everything going on to tie in with Bruce Banner.
Yep.
But Bruce seems perfectly fine with everything.
Yeah, he goes, that's so far in the past. We've talked. We've sorted it out. Things between us are good now. And I'm honestly a whole different person now, literally.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting play as he's flying away, too. And like I say, it just kind of blends in everything from the beginning that She-Hulk is catching up with him about, well, since I left Mexico, this is what happened. So it's kind of an interesting play. And then when she goes to meet the Abomination, he gives a whole story. Well, I was kind of duped into what I did because, I was taking orders. I didn't really mean to do this. I mean, who would really want to try doing this, to paraphrase a little bit. And it's such a brilliant take because you think about it, and a lot of times, too, when you have certain bad guys, they get manipulated and such, and they kind of have a feeling like that. To see that brought on the small screen, I thought that was ingenious.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, it's just like, and it shows the writing of the show too is very sharp in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very tough to really do a realistic superhero show because, let's face it, superheroes aren't real.
Yes.
That said, they're balancing that out extremely well, and this gives a legitimate, plausible clause for the Abomination to walk away.
Yeah.
So, reluctantly, Jennifer Walters is kind of buying into this. And she's making the play like, well, maybe he's right. Maybe everything makes sense. I'll have to try rolling with this.
Yeah.
But then she turns on the TV, and what happens, Pat?
Well, she gets a phone call from the guy who hired her for this law firm and says, hey, we got an issue with your client. Well, what's wrong? Turn on the television. And the footage we saw from, Shang-Chi, is finally hitting the web of the underground fight club and the Abomination being there.
Yep. And that's how the episode ends.
And I know some people are going, well, wait, when does this show take place? Blah, blah, blah. Is it, before Shang-Chi, during Shang-Chi? I think it's either during Shang-Chi, because I know people are like, well, or no, I don't think it's during Shang-Chi because
I think it's after.
I think it's after Shang-Chi, and the footage is just now hitting the web. That like one of those things where like it's making its rounds on like message boards and messaging services and stuff like that. Like it's slowly starting to blow up, but then it hits like Reddit or something, and then it immediately blows up.
Yeah, exactly. Because one thing about the Marvel Universe is everything is all connected.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of when and where, but the fact that footage is finally leaked out, that adds a whole different element to the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that going into the next episode, I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to play this, because how do you justify this? Because obviously we know Wong from the Doctor Strange franchise is going to be a part of this.
Yes, he is.
So he's going to have to try explaining it, and then it goes into the...
I imagine he shows up next episode.
I would say too.
Because I get the feeling like the first shot of the next episode is going to be her walking into the jail cell and just going, dude, what the hell?
Oh yeah, she's going to absolutely cut it real. And I love that sense too. And where you're going to tie into this as well is we're going to start seeing more characters from the MCU start showing up on this show.
Yep.
And what I'm really interested in finding out about is the rumors, and take this as rumors only.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be some crazy bonus credit scene at the end of next episode. Do you have any guess who?
No.
Okay, so I have two. One, I think it's Charlie Cox as Daredevil.
Well, yeah.
Like it's that infamous scene, like he shows up.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the Daredevil costume, but he shows up.
Yeah.
The second one, which I think if it's generating this much buzz, because the Charlie Cox we know is coming.
Right. I mean, that's not exactly a huge surprise. We know he's in the show.
Right. But remember that throwaway line that when Jennifer Walters was checking the tabloids there about the man with the metal claw starting a bar fight?
Yes.
What if, hypothetically, they show a silhouette of one Wolverine?
That could be.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to see the person yet because they haven't announced casting unless they want to do that before D23, which they could quite possibly do. Like, let's not be, too forgetful about that. We know that is coming up next week. But if they wanted to really generate some buzz.
Yeah.
Because that's all we've been hearing is there's some kind of crazy end credit scene.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is yet.
Charlie Cox wouldn't make any sense because it's not like newsworthy enough, like, oh my God, you're not going to believe who it is, or it's going to be earth shattering because like we already know he's going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's something we just have to kind of go into expecting. Every time they go, oh, the internet's going to break. Is it really? And if it is Charlie Cox, I mean, granted, I'm going to mark out if I see him on screen. Like, I'm going to be super happy. But at the same time, it's not enough of a surprise when it's leaked out in a trailer to go, oh, him, whoa.
Like when it's literally they're showing his face in the trailer.
Yeah.
They've acknowledged he's in the show. That's not a surprise.
Exactly. So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. But I think, though, we'll get a nice surprise, whoever it is. Maybe it's Foggy Nelson. Like, I could see that being one. But not enough to really break the net. But still, it's going to be a great mark-out moment.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll definitely have to wait and see about that. So, Pat, let's wrap it up. Final thoughts on She-Hulk episode 2.
Thought it was a really good episode, and I thought, and I just thought of what could possibly be the bonus scenes, break the internet. What if she's going, because I'm presuming this Supermax is somewhere in New York, the city or the state or someplace, because I don't think they've ever said where it is.
One would think.
What if it's one Punisher? What if it's Bernthal?
Dude.
That, like, he got caught, he's thrown in the Supermax, and he's in jail. Because it's for, what if it's him?
That would be the wildest thing they could pull off.
He said he's willing to come back and play the character again for the right story. And I could see them saying, hey, we want to have you in a story down the road. We haven't figured out what it is yet, but we want to set that story up by including you in this bonus scene.
That would be the one.
Because it could be like an end sequence of, like, Walters is talking to Abomination, and they're like, all right, this is, just like, you don't even get to hear the full sense. Like, all right, yeah, just like it cuts in. All right, yeah, that's the defense we're going to go with. And she goes walking by, and you just see a silhouetted figure because it's dark, it's dimly lit, whatever, in the cell cage. And you just hear, oh, She-Hulk, huh? Or something like that. And he just walks out of the shadows into the light, and you see him.
That would do it. That would legit do it. I mean, it could be a Jessica Jones. It could be a Luke Cage. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that, and still that'd be huge. But the Punisher, because obviously right now is probably the most uncertain character coming over from Netflix.
Sure.
Because of everything going on with him right now.
Well, sure, and that's why I say
that would be the one.
They could pitch it as, hey, we want it, because Bernthal has said, I want to come back and play the character again. It just has to be for the right story. They could have come to him and say, hey, we want to have you play the character again. We haven't figured out what the story is yet, but we want to feature you in a bonus scene. Here's what it is, X, Y, and Z, and yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, because man, you just blew my mind with that one. It could be that'd be the move to do, because he's probably the most uncertain, like we said.
Because again, it's not going to be Charlie Cox, because again we know
he's coming.
It's not going to be Wilson Fisk, because we already know he's already in the universe. We've already seen him,
right?
So that's not earth shattering, So outside of Punisher or something else batshit crazy, I can't think of what it is.
Yeah, I mean Jessica Jones and Luke Cage would be big. No, they'd be big, but no, Punisher would be the biggest one. Because we're expecting Jessica Jones. We're expecting Luke Cage at some point. Iron Fist to be determined, but that's not enough to really break the net.
Right.
Bernthal coming out for a cameo, dude, that would just be the craziest. And it all depends on what they're doing for story, too.
Right.
Because obviously, if you're reading the comics right now, there is a rebranding of sorts going on with the Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to do that right away. Just with how that story's playing out, even though like I've been hearing some really cool things about that book, I haven't got a chance to check that out. But if they want to go that route, man, that's the way to do it. But I guess we're just gonna have to wait to see when episode 3 drops. Luckily, we don't have long to wait. But that being said, ODPH Society, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH Pod. What is your thoughts about episode 2, Superhuman Law? And then what is your speculation for episode 3? Let's keep it spoiler-free when that episode drops on Thursday till Saturday. We'll give the 2-day window on this one, because if the internet is going to run crazy with this, if it's that big of a move, we're going to try not talking about it as much as possible. But I got a feeling if
we're not responsible for other parties.
Yeah, we try being good about this. We're not sitting there putting spoilers and then waiting 5 lines and then putting it in the tweet. Other people do that. We don't. So that being said, let's talk about it on social media. Keep it spoiler-free for a little bit. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Talkin Shiz. I am CJ.
And I am Maddox.
And our podcast is like a radio show. We have no certain topics. We talk about anything and everything. And our opinions don't matter. And we do have a pod page. What is our pod page where folks can find our platforms and what we're all about? Maddox?
I'm glad you asked. As a matter of fact, that is podpage.com/talkin without a G dash shiz. And that's where it's our one-stop shop. It has everything there. It has all of our donation links. It has all of the content that we have created, our recent related reviews, and it even gives you where you can find us on different applications such as Google, iHeartRadio, you name it. We're in almost in every single branch of applications out there, so please check it out. There's even, if you want to become an official Shizzler, we even have merchandise. So definitely go there, check it out, and yeah, it's literally the best one-stop shop.
Absolutely, and sharing is caring, so make sure you guys share. We're on Twitter, and that's Talkin_Shiz, Instagram, Talkin_Shiz. We have Facebook, We got our pod page. We have different platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, what Maddox said. We are everywhere. So definitely check us out, and we definitely appreciate you guys listening.
Yes, thank you guys, and we'll see you on one of our episodes.
Coming back for another segment of this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we have to recap, dare I say, one of TV's fastest rising TV shows?
Yeah, I would say so.
Break it down for us, Pat.
Yeah, so it earned 20 million viewers with episode 1. Thus far, it has earned 10 million viewers with episode 2. Already renewed for season 2 after just 2 episodes. That is the smash hit from the folks over at HBO and HBO Max, although we're kind of the same company.
Yeah.
The Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon.
Yeah, surprised to see that it's taken off this way, especially with how the original Game of Thrones series ended. We really weren't sure what the temp in the room is. I thought it would have a good first week.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised that it carried over for second week.
Yeah, I was too.
Happily surprised, because the show, we have to remind viewers, this is one that takes a while to get going.
Yeah.
This is not something that you just kind of walk into and you pick up everything right away. This is the definition of moving parts.
Yes.
There's a lot going on
Much
here.
like the intro.
Yes, which they brought back the old school intro from Game of Thrones.
Which I like.
Oh, they had to. Like, it makes perfect sense, and that's where you should really build, because you're now reigniting a fan base that was so disenchanted with how things ended the first go-round. You really want to try appeasing them the best way you can. The first episode, like we said last week, was good.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a blowaway one for me? No. The only thing I take away is Matt Smith's character of Damien.
Whew.
That's the only one I really care watching, because he is just absolutely embracing this world. Everybody else is still kind of finding their footing, but Matt Smith is running with this show.
Yeah, he is.
And like I say, he's the I don't want to say he's a breakout star, but let's face it, he's the franchise of this show thus
For
far.
right now, yeah.
I don't think anybody's even close. So that being said, we are going to break down episode 2 entitled The Rogue Prince. We know how this goes by now, so obviously spoiler-free statement, and then this goes right into spoiler talk after the countdown. So, Pat, that being said, spoiler-free statement on this.
Enjoyed the episode. Thought it was a little bit better than the first one. That being said, I'm still kind of waiting for things to fully get going, but they the cogs and wheels started moving a little bit with this episode, and I really enjoyed it.
Better episode than episode 1. By far. By far. And they're not wasting any time hitting the ground running to get to some really interesting battles. That's one thing that I think is a big takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
I was fearing they were going to wait till the end of the season and go.
Sure.
But I am really applauding that they're moving the story right along.
Yeah.
Because that was one thing that, let's face it, there's been some seasons it's been a very big snooze fest with Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Just being honest. And now it looks like, well, we're going to have a nice little balance. Albeit, though, there's a couple things I didn't like about this episode, but we'll get into that. So that said, in 3, 2, 1, talk to me.
Thought it was a really good episode. The wheels started moving, which I dug. Still taking a little too slow for me, but I'm willing to give it time. I'm liking what I'm seeing in that intro. I liked it.
Why is it on Game of Thrones that every king has to be creepy? Like, for real. Like, it's just like, God damn.
What's that saying about power, absolute power corrupts, something like that?
Oh, my God. Like, I understand why they keep talking about Mad Kings. Like, I get this.
Yeah.
Watching this for 2 episodes. Like, I understand this,
Yeah.
and you know what? It's bad. I'm siding with Damien. Like, he might be the new Joffrey, but I'm like, listen, he's got a plan. He has motivation.
Yeah.
He's not sitting there being uber creepy the
Yeah.
entire time. Like, I'm sorry. The king in this, Viserys, is creeping me the hell out.
Yeah.
In the worst way possible.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, it's nothing against the actor, Paddy Considine. I think he's doing a great job with this. But at the same time, I think just the source material, it's like, oh my God, man, this is just irritating the crap out of me. Because now we go 6 months after episode 1.
Yep.
And there's a lot of fallout from the anointment of the heir. Because, Pat, who is the heir now?
Rhaenyra Targaryen.
Yes. So people are still losing their minds about this. Damien is kind of handling this the way I thought he was going to be. Like, he's pissed, but he's like, you know what? I'm still got my army. I can still make some moves. Like,
he's pissed, and he's not exactly thrilled about it, but he's not exactly throwing a Joffrey level fit.
Yeah. Like,
he's like, all right, I don't like this. I'll do something about this, but I'll be subtle and calculating.
Yeah, he's just sitting back and going, like, I'm going to wait to see how this all plays out. And for 6 months, he's been calm. Like, that's one thing we have to remember with this. He hasn't been acting irrationally.
No.
He's been plotting, which I do applaud this because
It's always the silent ones you got to watch out for.
Exactly, because everybody else is not paying attention.
Nope.
Because you're also having a lot of moves going on, and, Rhaenyra is appointing her own people now, which this is starting to ruffle some feathers because who now gets appointed to the Kingsguard?
That would be Sir Kristen.
Yes, and that is the one that Damien had to fight in the celebratory duel of
joust, whatever it was
from the first episode. So she's already making some very questionable moves. Now, granted, she's very young in the show. How old would you say she is?
Oh, I would say at least 16, max maybe 21, 22.
Yeah, like
something like that.
She's still very young in making these moves, which I thought was kind of interesting that they're allowing her to really have this kind of power to do. But I understand she's being the heir to the throne.
Well, and I think just given the way that like Game of Thrones history typically works with kings and queens and royal bloodlines and all that, like they've learned over the course of, however many thousand years this world has gone on. You can't exactly wait until, the previous ruler is about to die to start teaching these kids how to do things that like anybody can drop at any moment's notice, and you need to start teaching them now because they might be hunky-dory and the king or queen or whoever's in charge might be perfectly good health now, but give it like 5 minutes and they could be dead.
Yeah, it's just one of those tricky situations, but she's getting told no by the hand of the King Otto, and then Lord Commander Harold Westling?
Or
Westerling.
I believe so.
So she's making some moves, and then you have the king who is really acting odd.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he's messing with his models. It's something about the show too. Everybody likes messing with models.
Yeah.
Like the little toy ones.
Yeah.
He's like almost like building his own train set.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. And then he gets visited by somebody too, Pad. Who is that?
That would be Alicent.
Yes. So that is Rhaenyra's best friend.
Uh-huh.
So this is also getting weird. They're having their own private meeting, and she's trying to influence him to speak about his wife's death.
Yep.
Which is just like, okay. It's
a little creepy.
It's a little creepy. It's just kind of like, I understand.
It's only been 6 months.
Yeah, they're trying to be very noble, but it's just kind of like, how is she meeting privately with him to have those conversations?
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of came off very weird to me. Like, that's the easiest way to describe it.
Like, if this is like a modern sitcom or something like that, like, okay, I can see, like, the main actresses or like the daughter's best friend going and talk to the father about something, but like this ain't a sitcom. Like, yes, your daughter is the heir to the throne, but like her best friend getting in to see the king, it seems a little weird.
Yeah, it's just like there's just no real rhyme or reason to it per se. Like, it's just kind of like, all right, we're going to kind of roll with this and see where we go. And then there's talk of the council now saying, well, the king needs to start uniting houses.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a proposition that's brought up. And Pat, what is your take on this whole proposition?
It creeped me the fuck out. I'll be honest. Ew.
Yeah, no, this was absolutely fucking weird. I'm sorry. Like, this is the part of the episode where I'm just like, no, I am not down with this. This is weird. Like, even for Game of Thrones standards. Because it's talked about that Corlys is saying, well, Viserys should marry his 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah, you heard that right. 12.
Yeah, that's not a mistake by me saying, like, seriously, like, I'm just like, yeah, I really just read that. Like, that's me. You're getting the honest feedback right now. Like, yep, that just came out of my mouth that this show just did this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and usually, Pat, we would just go reasons, but no, this is a whole other level. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here.
Well, I mean, it kind of, I would say, ties into actual history because there have been instances over the course of history with like kings marrying young women. Why, I don't know, and I couldn't explain to you. I'm not any of those people, so I guess it's kind of based on some realism and some actual history. Doesn't make it any less creepy.
No, it's creepy as fuck. Sorry, it is creepy as fuck. Like, my skin was crawling at this. I'm just like, oh my god, like, what the hell are we doing here?
It's like the whole Julius Caesar Cleopatra thing. Once you figure out the actual ages, that gets a whole lot more creepy.
Yeah, it does.
Just saying.
Oh, it does. But during this whole point, there's another side story going on, which is the good part of this. And that is Damien is sitting there stealing dragon eggs.
Because this will go over well.
Oh my god, this is perfectly smart. He's just like, you know what? They're all talking about whatever. I'm just going to go start loading up on dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what?
Not a bad plan.
I can't fault him.
I've seen dragons in action in Game of Thrones.
Like, he's a lunatic, but you know what? There's some sanity to this.
Yeah,
there's some real, like,
yeah.
dare I say, like, he might be the Joker of this whole thing, and I'm
Could
okay.
be.
I'm okay with this.
be.
Like, if he winds up killing everybody in this kingdom so far, I'm there. I'm on Team Damien. And yes, the council now hears that he has this.
And they're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, they're like, what? And then they're like, yeah, he's also going to marry somebody else.
The mistress.
Yes, that was not cleared, I guess, by the family.
Yep. Which is a real big no-no.
Yes. So this also now gets weird. So they're basically saying, well, we're going to send the hand of the king to go retrieve this egg. And Damien's like basically said, you want it, come bring it. I'm not giving you anything. And we're going to, if you really want to test this, we're going to test this. This is probably the strongest point of the episode because there is a standoff at the bridge. Because obviously, since Damien's occupying Dragonstone and he has his own court, he's just like, you know, if you were to come into my territory, we're going to fight about this.
Yeah.
He obviously sees Sir Kristen and he's just like, oh, you look familiar.
Yeah, I whooped your ass.
Yeah. You want to go for round 2? And like I say, Matt Smith is just eating the scenery right up
He
here.
really is.
Yeah, so like
He's the smarmiest prick I've ever seen on television.
my God, though, it works.
Yeah, it
works
does.
so well. And he's just like, yeah, if you're going to do this, fine. Oh, by the way, I have a dragon here. So what are you going to do? And ironically, though, at this point, Rhaenyra comes flying in like never-ending story style with her dragon at the other end.
Yeah.
And they basically say, well, I have a dragon too. You're not going to be able to do this. So what are we going to do? And
Mutual assured destruction.
yeah. And now at this point, she really forces Damien to make a decision. And he kind of plays along with things for now.
Yeah, for now.
For now, which is a very interesting take.
He's a very calculating individual.
Yeah, so it's like he reads the temp in the room and he's like, yeah, I could really fight everybody here, probably win. But
I don't really want to.
I'm going to go along with this. Like, I want to see how this all plays out. So he gives over the egg. It goes back to King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little peace in the world, so to speak. But then we go back to
For
Creepy
now.
Town. We go back to Creepy Town because Viserys announces, well, I'm going to take a queen.
Mm-hmm.
He's not taking the 12-year-old, thank God.
Nope.
But he's going to take Rhaenyra's best friend, Alicent,
Mm-hmm.
which is even just more weird.
So it's a more weird, less creepy.
Yeah.
Still weird, though.
Still weird as fuck. Like, I'm sorry, just like this whole courtship thing is just skin crawling.
Hey, that's how it works.
I know, but that's, like I said, that's the one thing about Game of Thrones that it like, I don't know why they have such an affection for doing this. Like, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm putting out
No, it is.
my
I
opinions
agree with
of
you.
this. But then they end on a strong note because Corlys is mad because, well,
What the fuck?
yeah, he thought this was pretty much a setup. The houses were going to be united. They're going to rule the kingdom. Nope. So Corlys does probably the most rational thing ever.
Yeah.
He reaches out to Damien, who's just sitting in the bottom of castle, just hanging out.
Yep.
And he's like, so what are we talking about? And Corlys is like, okay, the king is nuts.
Yep.
I'm throwing all my chips in with you.
Yep.
There's a situation going on that I could use some help in freeing up because otherwise my kingdom will go bankrupt.
I'm reading the tea leaves. I don't like what they say.
Yeah, so if you can help me take care of this problem, I'm all in with you,
You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
and we'll take care of this. And that's how the episode ends.
You can almost see the smirk on Damon's face.
Oh my God, yeah. Like I said, the easiest comparison is he is the Seth Rollins in this world right now.
Yeah. That's very accurate.
He is, to put it in wrestling terms, he is Seth Rollins. And my God, the setup for this made up for the creepiness of the overall episode completely. Because I'm just like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on here. I know I'm swearing a lot, folks, and I apologize if that's bothersome, but that part of the episode just really freaked me and disgusted me enough. I'm just like, I don't want to see this shit. I'm sorry. This is not my cup of Java right here. But I was happy with seeing the Matt Smith storyline because at least that makes sense. And the setup they have going into next week is we're finally going to get our big battle.
Yes.
There's a brand new villain going to be introduced. I should say, well, I mean, really, is there? You define villain. I'll just say a new character because literally everybody in the Game of Thrones world is pretty much a POS.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. No, they're not exactly the most noble people you've ever met.
Yeah. But we're going to see somebody else, so this could be the next big bad. I don't know, but I'm intrigued to see what happens because obviously we're seeing that there's some problems that if Corlys is now reaching out to Damien to get help, and then we're going to see obviously a big battle. There's a dragon coming down, blowing fire all over the place. I'm in for that. So to wrap it up, Pad, final thoughts on this.
Thought it was a really good episode. Enjoyed the hell out of it, and excited to see where they go from here.
I'm in for Damien. I could give 2 flying Fs about Viserys and his marital issues. I don't even care. This whole storyline is just, like, we can't reiterate it enough. It's creepy as fuck, and I don't care about it. I care about Damien because that is a character that actually is making some moves and is doing the whole Game of Thrones thing to the letter. And you know what? I'm all in on his storyline, and I can't wait to see next week's issue, or I should say issue, because it kind of feels like a comic. But at the same time, I'm just ready to see some action finally go down in this, and I think we're finally going to get that.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, ODPH Society, hit us up on the hashtag ODPHpod. What is your thoughts about House of the Dragon so far, and especially Episode 2, The Rogue Prince? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? And if you're not watching the show, explain why if you're a fan of Game of Thrones. I mean, if this isn't your whole fandom, I get it. I respect it. Not a problem. But if you're a fan of Game of Thrones and you're not watching this, I'm curious why. So let's have that discussion, shall we? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Time is going. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the Shane and I Show. Or actually, it's not the Shane and I Show. It's a promo.
It's a promo for the Shane and I Show, the show about nothing that makes you think of something.
And we are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Spotify, Apple, what else? Pods.
Yeah, but we got like 5.
We got like 5 seconds to fit it. Well, we're going to go a little over.
1.
So, hey.
Listen to the show.
Yeah, you messed it up.
You fucked it up.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple of things to talk about. Obviously, one of them is to remind you all the most highly anticipated show of the season is finally coming out this Thursday night, 9 p.m. Check your local listings for when it's dropping in your time zone. After that, every week, Friday at midnight. That is season 1 for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power on Amazon Prime.
Oh.
The reviews have gone, the review embargo has lifted, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, and let me refresh the page. It's been a little minute since I've opened the page. Still the same number, with 98 critic ratings for season 1, currently sitting at an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. I've heard good things about the episode. Super excited for this to come out. I know Jeffrey Bezos, I think he's former CEO. I don't know if he still is CEO, whatever. Did an interview, and that got brought up because obviously Amazon has put $500 million into this season of Lord of the Rings. Jeffrey Bezos' son is a huge fan of all things Tolkien and heard about this, went to his father, looked him in the eyes and said, quote, "Don't fuck this up." So there would appear that there's pressure from the very tippy top in Jeffrey Bezos to not fuck this up. So let's hope it's really good.
Yeah, they got a lot riding on this show, so obviously that's going to have huge implications on, a lot of different shows going to follow suit because obviously with being this big of a budget, they got to deliver. And especially with that fan base, anything short of like perfect is going to be absolutely ripped apart on social media.
Switching over to some movie news. Ken, why don't we go back to 1982?
Okay.
Go back to 1982. Why do I say 1982? Because for the first time since 1982, movie theater prices, ticket prices are going to be at those levels.
What?
This coming Saturday, September 3rd, is National Cinema Day, and you will be able to get movie theater tickets at almost every movie theater for just $3.
Damn.
Yeah, so reading from an article on Fortune.com, reads in quote, does the $3 ticket only cover certain times? Nope. The $3 ticket price will extend to all screenings on September 3rd, so you won't have to worry about catching a matinee or a late night show. Note that you'll have to pay any tax and fees on top of that $3. Can I see an IMAX film for $3? You can. Prices won't fluctuate with format. So if the film is showing at your local Cineplex and that theater is participating in National Cinema Day, then you'll pay just $3. Which theaters will offer the $3 movie tickets? More than 3,000 theaters with over 30,000 screens are expected to participate in the event, including major chains such as AMC and Regal. The best way to find the nearest theater to you is via the National Cinema Day website, which is nationalcinemaday.org. You go in there and then you scroll down because it tells you the date and the price, and there's a little video. And then it's find movies and find cinemas, and you're able to search by city or zip. I know here locally, both of our theaters, Regal and AMC, are doing it. Also, the local theater, mom and pop theater, Cinema Saver, which is normally $5, is doing it as well. Their tickets will be $1.50. So the article goes on to say, are there any major film releases this weekend? While it's a holiday weekend, there aren't any tentpole releases on September 2nd. New films include Gigi and Nate, Burial and Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. That said, there are still plenty of summer blockbusters in theaters, including Top Gun Maverick, Thor Love and Thunder, Minions The Rise of Gru, and several films are being reissued, including Jaws and Spider-Man No Way Home. So definitely something to check out. It's a fantastic deal that is, I think, a really good idea from the folks in charge of this. It's an awesome move.
It's an absolutely fantastic move, especially for an industry that really needs a shot in the arm, in my opinion. I think that fans are starting to go back to the movies. Obviously, when it comes out on streaming so fast, it does hurt. But I mean, let's face it. I think it's pretty safe to say that we here at the ODPH, and I think 607 Podcasts in general, are always about going out and supporting and going out and getting that experience, because you can sit home and watch something and that's cool and all, but there's nothing like going out with your significant other, going out with your friends, going out in a big group, watching a film, then going in and talking about it right after, having that experience, having that social interaction. I think anytime that you get that, it's something that we don't hear so much about these days, because, I mean, everybody's so digitally locked in whatever they're doing. I can watch it at home. I don't need to leave my apartment. I don't need to leave my house. It's like, this is a perfect way to go out. There's no excuse. I mean, you can sit there and still try selling that, but for $3 a ticket.
Right.
And I'm sorry, there's good stuff at the movies, so there's not excuse, well, there's nothing great to watch. There's a lot to go out there and see. So I fully recommend doing this. I'm going to try getting out there to the theater myself. I got kind of a crazy schedule this weekend, but I definitely want to try doing it and taking advantage of that. It's a brilliant move, so go out and support the movie theaters, because they could definitely use it right now.
Absolutely. Switching over to some Star Trek news.
Star Trek.
Reading from an article over at Reuters, actress Nichelle Nichols is having her ashes sent into space.
Really?
Yeah, so the article reads, quote, the late actress Nichelle Nichols, best known as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, will become the latest member of the 1960s television series to be memorialized by having some of her earthly remains flown into space. Nichols, who died on July 30th at age 89, is credited with helping shatter racial stereotypes and redefining Hollywood roles for black actors at the height of the U.S. Civil Rights Movement, as one of the first black women to portray an empowered character on national television. Network television. Now she has been added to the posthumous passenger manifest of a real-life rocket ship due to carry a collection of vials containing cremated ashes and DNA samples from dozens of departed space enthusiasts on a final and eternal voyage around the sun, according to organizers of the tribute. A date for the launch has not yet been set. Other Star Trek cast members and executives who have had remains launched into space include James Doohan, who played the show's chief engineer Scotty, and Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry. So that's definitely awesome. Also joining her is going to be the remains of Roddenberry's wife, Majel Barrett Roddenberry, who played Nurse Christine Chapel on the series, and the renowned sci-fi visual effects artist Douglas Trumbull, whose work was featured in such films as 2001: A Space Odyssey and Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So that's definitely awesome to see, and obviously I would say well-deserved, as somebody being so seminally known with all things space.
Well-deserved. So cool to see happen, man. I fully applaud that.
Yeah. And sticking with some movie news, folks, the Monsterverse is not done yet, as some might have thought, because, hey, the whole rights thing with Toei and, Warner Brothers is kind of a little confusing.
This is still happening.
Yeah, Godzilla and King Kong are teaming up for their next movie.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Reading from an article on IGN.com, it says, quote, Godzilla and King Kong will return for another epic battle on the big screen, Warner Brothers Picture and Legendary Pictures announced. After the two titans clashed in 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong, the studio says the two giant monsters will fight a colossal undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own. The movie will also explore how the mysterious titans came to be by diving into their ancient histories and uncovering the legendary battle that created them and forever linked them to humans. Adam Wingard will return to direct the MonsterVerse film, as well as cast members Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Kaylee Hoddle. They will be joined by newcomers Dan Stevens, Fala Chen, Alex Ferns, and Rachel House. Screenwriters Terry Rossio, Jeremy Slater, and Simon Barrett are also a part of the project. It is being shot on location in Queensland, Australia. No word on a release date. It's kind of looks like it's slated right now for March 15th, 2024, but as always, card subject to change.
Interesting.
I'm interested with that. I'm all for it. I've enjoyed the last couple of movies. Give me a little bit more of a plot. I don't need the greatest plot since Citizen Kane, but give me a little something, kind of tide me over in between the action sequences.
Yeah, they got to do something a little different. It's been fun just seeing the action, but yeah, I'm with you. It's missing something.
Yeah.
The easy way to put it, but I'm definitely going to check it out when it comes.
Oh, absolutely. And then switching over to some Netflix news, we got a director announcement for the upcoming BioShock movie.
Oh.
So this, of course, based on the very popular video game franchise. So reading from an article on Deadline.com, it says, quote, the long-awaited feature film adaptation of the renowned video game franchise BioShock looks to be gaining momentum in a big way. Sources tell Deadline that Netflix has tapped Hunger Games director Francis Lawrence to helm the pick, with Michael Green adapting the script. The directing and writing assignment has been among the more sought-after jobs in the industry after Netflix said in February it was partnering with video game holding company Take-Two Interactive and its game publisher subsidiary 2K to produce a BioShock film. Since then, the studio and its partners have been aiming high on who would help guide this project, given the scope of the property, looking at A-list directors and writers for the job, close quote. So obviously, Francis Lawrence, very well known for his work on the Hunger Games. And I think, that's a good pick for this movie, and it should be very good.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. I think it's a great pick for the movie, so don't get me wrong about that. I just don't know if I'm that excited for it.
Sure.
To be honest with you. If that's your fandom, cool. I'm not saying, it's going to be terrible. I guess for me, I'm just kind of let's see something first. Because obviously anytime you kind of dabble in that, adaptation to film, it just, it gets messy. So.
Yeah, could be, but who knows? We'll see.
Absolutely.
And then sticking with some Netflix news, it was announced last week by the folks over at Netflix that Umbrella Academy is coming back for season 4.
Ooh.
And it will also be the final season of Umbrella Academy. Reading from an article on thehollywoodreporter.com says, quote, the Umbrella Academy will end with a 4th and final season on Netflix. The streamer has renewed the superhero series starring Elliot Page for a concluding round. Quote, I'm so excited that the incredibly loyal fans of the Umbrella Academy will be able to experience the fitting end to the Hargreaves siblings' journey we began 5 years ago, said showrunner Steve Blackman. But before we get to do that conclusion, we've got an amazing story ahead for season 4, one that will have fans on the edge of their seats until the final minutes, close quote. The show's season 4 cast set to reprise their roles include Paige, Tom Hopper, David Castaneda, Emmy Rivera-Lampin, Robert Sheehan, Aidan Gallagher, Justin H. Min, Ritu Arya, and Colm Fiora. Additional casting news will be announced at a later date, close quote. So obviously huge news. We are big fans of the Umbrella Academy. Last season, absolutely fucking wild.
Yeah.
Can't wait for season 4.
Yeah, I'm super excited they're going to do this. Especially you're always hearing about, Netflix is canceling a lot. The fact they're going to let them end on their own terms, I think, is great. I'm not sure whether they're going to do source material because I just don't really know where they're going to go. But at this point, too, they've gone so far away from the books. In my opinion, I think that it's a fair game. But the fact that obviously how last season ended, they got to tie it up some way.
Yeah.
And in fact, they're going to get one last season. I think that's great. You touched upon, Pat, we're huge fans of the Umbrella Academy here. Bring on more content with that as much as you can, and hashtag Renew Sandman while we're talking Netflix.
Absolutely. They also, sticking with some Netflix and Steve Blackman news specifically, they announced, continuing on the Hollywood Reporter article, says Netflix also announced its extended partnership with Blackman and his newly formed Irish Cowboy Productions. Blackman will work on adapting a series version of the hit PlayStation game Horizon Zero Dawn.
Really?
Along with a sci-fi limited series titled Orbital. Horizon Zero Dawn is described as an epic sci-fi adventure series set 1,000 years in the future in a strange and beautiful world full of primitive tribes and high-tech machines, all built on the bones of the old ones, the ruins of our present-day United States. The disaster that destroyed our world is long forgotten, but when these formerly peaceful machines mysteriously turn into dangerous hunters of all life, a young outcast named Aloy discovers that that the only chance to save her world is to fight to uncover what happened to ours. Executive producers include Blackman, Michelle Lavretta, Abby Morris, and Azad Quilbash and Carter Swan of PlayStation Productions, Jan Bart Van Beek and Ben McCaw of Gorilla, Roy Lee of Vertigo, and Matthew Ball, close quote. I am super fucking excited for this. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games of all time. Top 3 easily. The fact that they're doing a game and they got someone as awesome as Blackman to be the showrunner, write, and direct. Wonderful casting or pick for the show. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, no, I'm actually more excited about this than BioShock.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, this actually has got my attention. This I'm actually fully all in on. Yeah. So I will definitely co-sign on that. It'll just be interesting to see how this is going to come out. Like, like I say, just anytime you do video games to, like, any other medium, is like, you roll the dice.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you get something really good, and then you get, like, Double Dragon.
Yeah, that's just true.
I'm just going to put it out there.
And then switching over to some Amazon news. How crazy is The Boys?
The Boys is freaking insane.
How crazy? Do you think we could make it any more crazy?
Well, they got that spinoff coming, so I mean that's going to be wild. But
what if I said they were to add Jeffrey Dean Morgan to the show?
Oh, shut the fuck up! They're not doing that.
Yes, they are. Reading from an article on Hollywood.
Shut up! They're not doing that.
HollywoodReporter.com. Quote: Negan is joining The Boys. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays The Walking Dead's most iconic villain, has signed on to the Amazon Prime Video superhero drama's 4th season. The imposing and charismatic actor's character in the show is being kept secret for now, but the casting represents a reunion for Morgan and The Boys showrunner Eric Kripke. Morgan played Patriarch John Winchester on Kripke's Supernatural. The move marked the latest Supernatural actor to join the show, with star Jensen Ackles having boarded season 3 as Soldier Boy. Morgan's credits include stints on Grey's Anatomy and The Good Wife, and such as like Watchmen and Rampage, but he's best known for playing Negan on AMC's zombie drama. Having been introduced in the show's 6th season and then survived to its current 11th and final season, he's also reprising his role in the upcoming Walking Dead spin-off series Dead City along with Lauren Cohan, close quote. Holy shit, this show got even more insane and I love it.
I'm just even trying to think who he could play. And obviously I just have this theory, though. Obviously, you know what happens with Soldier Boy at the end of this past season. They're going to reactivate him, and there's going to be a scene between those two, and I'm not down Jared Padalecki to get involved. It just writes itself. So I'm putting that karma out in the world. I'm sure Tyler from 30 and Nerdy just marked out wherever he is listening to that statement, but I'm going to put that energy out in the world. But that's a hell of a pick. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So for my one-shots... Actually, talking CW.
Okay.
There's a show that's returning that, I'll be honest, flew under my radar.
Really?
Was not expecting. I knew it was coming back.
Okay.
But I guess with all the news from Warner Brothers Discovery, that I just completely forgot Stargirl Season 3 is debuting.
Oh, okay.
So it's debuting Wednesday, August 31st.
Nice.
Did not... for some reason, I thought it was coming back later. But then again, with all the shakeups they're doing, obviously The Flash is on its final run.
Yep.
Superman and Lois has had its unfortunate drama there.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about Stargirl.
Yeah, no, it certainly flew under the radar with everything Warner Brothers Discovery going on.
Yeah, like everything getting canceled left and right. So the fact that we have Season 3 coming out, I'm definitely going to be talking about that next week in some capacity. Obviously, we've got to take a look at the lineup, but I definitely want to check out and see what's going on. I think it's one of the best shows they have on CW. I think they take a lot of risks, obviously involving the Justice Society of America, and especially with the Take Two they're doing, because they're all teenagers. Which, if you read the comic, which I mean, JSA is making some news for DC as well.
Yeah,
it's a more seasoned team, shall we say.
Yeah.
So definitely excited to check that out this week. So definitely I'll post something about that as well.
That explains why all of the CW, DC show Facebook pages I follow all lit up on the same thing at the same time last night.
Yeah.
I saw it and I didn't look at it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm like, wait, why was Superman and Lois and the Flash posting about the same thing?
Yeah, no, I agree. It was like I saw it, I was like, wait, what's going on? And then I got looked and I was like,
Kind of dropping the ball. I'm going to be honest. Like, it's supposed to be one of your better shows, and like the fact that it's flew under our radar,
yeah, that's the thing.
kind of dropping the ball.
I know. So I'm hoping to get some good ratings out of it, but I think it'd just be word of mouth like after it comes out. Because I think when they usually have done it, it's been during the summer, and I think that it's played better because it usually comes out like midsummer, so it leads right into everybody coming back in October. Obviously, with how the schedule is right now, it's kind of a little risky move for me. So I'm hoping good things for the show, but obviously keep your fingers crossed because, it's Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah.
And, Pat, we can just define that as reasons.
Well, it's also Warner Brothers Discovery, and it's also now Nexstar.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on.
There's
there.
another parent in the mix.
Yeah, so if you love the show, watch it. A show that we usually have good things to say about, but man, this week...
Lead Balloon.
Yeah,
Well,
I gotta say, disappointing episode of
Yeah.
Tales of the Walking Dead. We were gonna do a full review of it, but Pat, I think I'll let you take this one. I dare even say we'll give the spoiler countdown. So, in 3, 2, 1.
Not good.
Yeah.
It was a terrible episode. I was excited about this because of the 3 they've done. The first one being Evie Joe. Evie/Joe, the second one being Blair/Gina, this one being titled D, and it was the return of Samantha Morton, aka Alpha, and it was Alpha's origin story. I was like, oh, okay, this is something I can sink my teeth into. This is something that like I've got a connection to. I can really build off of stuff with. It felt very disconnected. That like it felt like we were coming in the middle of the story and we were leaving before the story was over.
I agree.
I felt like there was some better stuff you could have done with this. And honestly, I was a little disappointed. And I'll be honest with the show in general. I forego watching House of the Dragon at 9 when it drops to watch this just because
Same time,
it's on the same time, and also because I don't have a DVR. I have Hulu TV, to watch the main stuff, but I still have my parents' Spectrum login to watch AMC stuff. So I watch the AMC stuff like Walking Dead and then this live because if I don't, especially with this, it's not on iTunes. If you have an iTunes account or you have an Apple device, while you're listening to this episode, go to iTunes, search Tales of the Walking Dead, and try and find it on there. It is not on iTunes for any of the episodes. I have still not seen episode 2 of this show because it's not on iTunes. And I don't want to jump through the hurdles of signing up for AMC Plus just to watch one episode. Sorry, not going to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I'm honestly considering dropping the show just because I liked the first episode. Could have been bad, had some potential, didn't quite reach its zenith, I guess you could say. Didn't see episode 2, but this one, not good.
The easiest way to describe this is they took a chance and they just fell flat.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha Morton coming back as Alpha was great. And I thought for what she had to work with was okay. Like, it wasn't a great script. Because as you touched upon, we're thrown in the middle of a story.
Yeah.
So there's, like, no reason that we understand that she's on this yacht.
Yeah.
And they're surrounded by zombies. So obviously the apocalypse has happened. And yet it's just not a real clear-cut build of, like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, I'm showing kind of off my iPhone right now. I've searched Tales of the Walking Dead on iTunes. But there's books, there's songs, there's albums, and then podcasts.
Yeah, there's no show.
There's no show.
Yeah, no,
Walking Dead you can go and get like the next day or a couple days after.
The only thing I'm guessing with that, though, to go back to your point, I think they're just doing it because they're going to put it all out at once.
Yeah, maybe.
Because how the show is, it's an anthology, so we got to remember that it's not supposed to be set in any continuum. It's just what it is. But like I say, this episode was so lost. Because
it was.
You don't understand why Alpha's so angry at the world.
Well, she's on this riverboat that we don't quite know how or why or how the fuck she got here.
It's reasons.
Yeah, they're literal reasons. there's a whole cast of characters that I don't give two flying fucks about and I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And then they're in the middle of a bayou in like Louisiana or someplace, which I'm like, okay, that's a different place than we've been to before. I'm in for that. And then they're dealing with the walkers. There's some guy who shows up that they've got beef with that I have no fucking clue who he is.
Exactly.
And then shit hits the fan, which, gotta say, when the shit hit the fan, I perked up a little bit and I'm like, oh, okay, I can get into this. And then she just left.
Yeah, she just hits the inflatable raft and jumps in the water.
Yeah.
And it's puzzling. Like it literally sat there and was like, okay, what are we even doing here? Like, you wasted the opportunity of really doing a great story.
Yeah, because being on a boat in the Walking Dead universe has always been something from the show that, like, oh, why don't they do that?
Yeah.
And they teased doing it in the Telltale game, but they never got around to it.
Right.
And then obviously they did it with Fear the Walking Dead, but like it's not been something that's been like too looked at, so that they're like, I'm like, oh, they're on a riverboat in the bayou. Okay, that's different than being, in the middle of the ocean someplace. This could be cool. And then it was kind of half-assed.
Yeah, no, they definitely dropped the ball on this one. So there isn't a lot to really go on with because it's basically Alpha's angry, is jealous of somebody, the boat gets raided.
Yeah.
She jumps into the water.
The boat gets raided, and they act like they know the person, but I'm like, who the fuck is this person?
Yeah, exactly. Like, everybody knows who it is, and we're all like, who? Like, everybody watching at home. Like, I was talking with some people online about it. They're like, who is this? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
You know us. You know we're not like this. Well, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, so once they hit land, there's a zombie raid. They cover themselves up. They get discovered by the Whispers, go home.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's the episode. So there's nothing really to discuss about it. If you enjoyed it, please let me know what you liked about it, because I am not going to hate on you about it.
No.
But this was not a good episode in our opinions. Like,
no.
When Pat and I were talking about doing this for a segment for the show, we're like, I'm going to talk about it because we do have Walking Dead listeners that really like to hear the take. But honestly, like, this was not a good episode. So I know they have 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can rebound, but I got to admit, I think the show has, or 3 episodes left. But
3 episodes,
but the show has just really not clicked the way I thought it was going to. So we'll have to write it out and see, though. I mean, it's still not worlds apart, so I can at least say that. Let me end with some happier news, though.
Please.
It's New Comic Book Day.
Hey.
So, like we say, there is a very, very, very stacked lineup this week. Comixology Originals is absolutely crushing it right now. And if you listen to the Scott Snyder interview, which once again, thank you to Scott Snyder for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Fantastic interview, and he gave us a lot of great exclusives. Just such a cool guy to talk to. I know we're planning on having him come back on again, too. And for everybody that's been listening, the downloads are flying there, and we're getting so much great feedback from our fellow content creators. Like, that means the absolute world. Like, we were super happy to have the interview, and just hearing the fan reaction, too. We're super excited about it. And rightfully so, because we're all talking about his books on Comixology Originals. Barnstormers #2, it comes out. And the book, like I said on the intro for that episode, it's breathtaking. Tula Lute's artwork on this is freaking fantastic. I could sit there and rave about this all day. The story, I'm not going to spoil.
Okay.
But there is 2 game-changer moments that happen in here. One, it's almost like a throwaway moment. But the minute I read it, I went, oh, okay. I think I know what's going on now.
Yeah.
And if it's that, it's going to be such a good payoff. But then even later, too, there's another moment that happens in there. And I'm like, I'm not that I wasn't already all in, but I think if like you were on the fence after issue 1,
sure.
Oh, you're sold. Like, you are in for this series. I can't stress enough. You need to go out and go get this on Comixology Originals. And definitely when it comes out in print via Dark Horse, you need to go do that. And to clarify, too, I believe the We Have Demons trade paperback, the original book that he had with Greg Capullo, is pushed back a week. Because I went to darkhorse.com to go check, and they're listing it for September 7th. So next week, we'll check it out. But if it's at your local comic shops, make sure you go get them. And seriously, go get the print books. Go get the Comixology stuff. It's fantastic. Like, Scott is putting in some of the best work he's done, and that is saying something with his pedigree. So I can't recommend them enough, and I will scream from the top of my lungs, go get these books.
Yes.
Also out on Comixology Originals is The All-Nighters. So Chip Zdarsky, Jason Liu, they're tying up loose ends here. Issue 10, I believe, is going to be the last one of the series.
Okay.
Supernatural book, and definitely does a lot of creative stuff here. I can't stress enough. They're absolutely crushing it with this book as well, so you definitely want to go pick this up. Pat, this would be something for you.
Okay.
The first 5 issues story arc is out on trade paperback via Dark Horse as well, so you definitely want to go check that out, and I'm just going to highly recommend it as well. And then there was a new book that came out on the radar that I was definitely given a flyer to, Blood Oath #1. So this is done by Rob Hart, Alex Segura, and Joe Eisma.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the premise. Pat, do you like history books?
Yes.
Prohibition time.
Okay.
So 1920s.
1920s, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to show you the cover.
Okay. Ooh. Nice. Very nice.
Vampires.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're definitely doing something crazy here. Now, I'm not going to say the plot because this has a very original idea for this time period. I was very impressed with this first issue. It does a lot to explain like the direction of the story. It's not giving away too much, but you know the main players. Like it's almost like when we talk about wrestling, and Rich from 3FN and 607 TWS always talks about this. You should be able to turn out a match, and you should know who the face and the heel is immediately.
Yes.
This is what this issue does. So you know what's going on. You know the major players. It does move a little quick, and it is a vampire book at its heart, but it makes sense.
Okay.
And especially in that time period. So I think it's a very cool book. So I definitely would recommend go checking that out on Comixology Originals right now because I think that is a definite one to keep an eye on. Also, from Boom Studios, you know I love Boom Studios.
Yes, you do.
You know I love the Something Is Killing the Children franchise. House of Slaughter #8.
Mm-hmm.
The story is getting really good. So Scarlet Part 3 is out, and it's such a unique concept too, because Edwin Slaughter is not your typical monster hunter.
Right.
And how he is perceiving this mystery, I find so fascinating.
Okay.
And I think that James Tynion and Sam Johns have definitely got something very, very cool going on with the writing for this book. So I can't stress enough, if you haven't picked this up, you need to go check this out. It's definitely a different feel, a different vibe, but it's one that works. So I can't stress that one enough. And last on my list, the Charge to 100 is in full effect for the Power Rangers universe at Boom Studios. Power Rangers Unlimited #1, or the Death Ranger #1, is out. This is a great companion piece to what's going on in the monumental Mighty Morphin Power Rangers #100 that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been doing these unlimited books, and they've been given like a little more backstory to certain characters that are involved here. This definitely clears up a lot for me. And like I say, my fandom is not as detailed as Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming.
True.
So this is great for me that's been reading since Ryan Parrott's been on this book. So it helps me, and especially it's great for new readers because you'll understand these characters when you see them. And I think they do a really good job about explaining about the Death Ranger here and the whole mythos behind it. So definitely some cool stuff to go check out at the comic shops this week. And like we always stress, go support your local comic shops too. You know, even if you go through Comixology, which I highly recommend as well, still get down to the LCS and go get something there as well too. And especially if it's one like from the Best Jacket Press, you need to go do that.
One more thing, I got a recommendation for everybody.
Ooh.
It is not a comic recommendation, is a TV show recommendation, documentary recommendation. It's both entertainment and sports.
Okay.
It is Welcome to Wrexham, which is airing on Wednesday nights on the FX network, also on Hulu, because Hulu's got that deal with FX. It is with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The description of this on IMDb reads, docuseries chronicling the purchase and stewardship of Wrexham AFC, one of professional football's oldest clubs, by two Hollywood actors, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. On Rotten Tomatoes, it reads, in Welcome to Wrexham, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds learn to run the third oldest professional football club in the world. In 2020, Rob and Ryan teamed up to purchase the fifth-tier Red Dragons in the hope of turning Wrexham AFC into an underdog story the whole world can root for. This show is, the first two episodes are out on Hulu. The next two episodes air tonight as we record, are fucking amazing.
Okay.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it has got a critic score of 89% and an audience score of 97%.
Holy shit.
So the first two episodes, the description, first episode is Dream. It says Hollywood stars Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney attempt a takeover of the world's third oldest professional football, aka soccer club, located in Wrexham, a working class town in northern Wales in the United Kingdom. Second episode is titled Reality. Wrexham Football Club attempts to qualify for the playoffs as their new owners try to very quickly learn the ins and outs of a game and an industry they know nothing about. You've got the two episodes tonight, which are both titled Rebuilding and Home Opener. This documentary series, I would honestly say, is on the levels of The Last Dance.
Oh, that's bold. That's bold.
Where it's gripping. It's, you got the whole story of them wanting to buy the club. They finally, and it, because the town had been screwed over for so many years, because like I said, it's the third oldest football club in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's got in the stadium they play in has been operating since like 1805.
Damn.
It's the oldest stadium still in use today in the world. So they go from, hey, let's do this, why, and it gets brought up, why people always ask why Wrexham, and Rob McElhenney, says, hey, you know what, Wrexham, it's something I wanted to do. And Wrexham reminded me a lot of Philly, it's people down on their luck. They've been beaten down a lot, but they always come back. They always fight, and he realized, you know what, I have TV money, but I don't have necessarily enough TV money if this really starts taking off and we start moving up in the tiers of the English soccer system. So I figured, hey, why don't I reach out to Ryan Reynolds and see if he's willing to do this? And they jump into it together. It's so goddamn good. Just, honestly, I know very little about soccer. I know some of the finer, broader details, I guess you could say, but some of the more nuanced stuff, no fucking clue. I had no idea there were 5 levels to the English Soccer League, and just seeing everything from this, I cannot recommend this enough. If you're a sports fan, if you're a Ryan Reynolds fan, if you're an It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia fan, this documentary series is fucking amazing. Highly recommend it. Like I said, first 2 episodes are available on Hulu. The next 2 episodes air on Wednesday. So the 2 episodes premiere on Wednesday night on FX from 10 to 10:30 and then 10:30 to 11. Cannot recommend it enough. It is phenomenal.
Definitely gotta check that out. Sounds dope, man. It's the first time I've heard of this, so definitely want to check this out. So that being said, the music you heard in this edition of the ODPH is at a shout at the Robots. They were down at Porch Fest doing some things.
Yeah, they were.
Little Soul Shot. I know Floodlands was. Second Suitor was. Tom Jolu was tearing it up down there. Pat, if I want to find out about all these great musicians, where do I go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. You swing on over to the music section. Go check out everybody there. Seriously, a lot of great musicians putting in a lot of great work, so we can't stress that enough. That's why they're on the page. We fully endorse them. Also, while you're at the website, you can check out the cool kids, a.k.a. the patrons of the show. So definitely shout out to Joey from So Wizard, John from The Pint, the Pop Culture Podcast. I got to remember because I'm so used to saying Pint of Comics. Stu from SW Productions and Rich from 3FN. They're our proud patrons. And definitely you want to join them, and I hope you do. 1 tier, $2 is making it happen. I got a couple things planned out. Something came across the wire I haven't got a chance to post yet, but it's coming. So definitely want to get the feedback from everybody there and can say thank you enough for everybody's support. Also, while you're on the website, check out Parlay Points. New blogs are up. So I got comic reviews up there if you want. I got a brand new Blogs Count Anywhere. I got it out last night, Pat. I actually pulled it off.
Nice.
Wasn't sure I was going to be able to. And we have some new stuff up from Dre Driven. So if you want the Week Dre Minute, that's the place to go. And plus, there is rumor of your coach, my coach, the coach, Coach Duffy, doing some kind of weird workout montage video link or something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to definitely critique that.
I got to get him a jersey in the mail.
Yes, we do. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. If you know, you know. So we'll just leave it at that. But also, while you're on the website, check out the classified section, which has friends of the show, such as 3FN Podcast. They're our friends. They come over a lot to swing on the ODPH, and especially if you're a subscriber, which I hope you are, you got a brand new 607 TWS right in your subscription box, because that's how we do. So Rich came over because obviously he was here in attendance for the Scott Snyder interview, which I can't recommend enough. Go listen to. Seriously. It's one of the best ones you're going to hear ever. Yeah, are we talking a little trash about that? Yeah, because, it's that damn good. And Scott was phenomenal, so can't plug that one out enough. But like I said, in the classified section, you can find friends of the show. You can find organizational links supporting Black Lives Matter. You can find voter registration information. Can't stress that enough. Pod groups that we're in. Fantastic people, like the Multiverse of Badness. So definitely want to shout out Mike and Zach. I'm on the show.
Nice.
So coming up, I unfortunately made them suffer through Skrull Kill Crew, the second volume, which I didn't even know existed.
That sounds awful.
Oh my God.
I've seen some awful shit in my time.
Oh, I did not read this until Mike brought it up because I read the first volume.
Yeah.
First volume is weird as hell.
Yeah.
I might do that for a Patreon if people
boy.
really want to see me suffer. I'll do the first one. I'm not going to do the second. Second one's too freaking whacked out. But those guys were absolutely awesome to work with, so definitely want to plug them. You should go follow them too. But you can find out their links because it's right there on the aPODalypse group page. That's how we do. The TeePublic store. The directory. Pat, how many providers are we on?
Oh, 831,000.
So like we say, we can't make it any easier to follow the shows, and that's all we ask. If you are loving the content, and I hope you do, hit the follow and it'll come right to your favorite podcast player each and every week. Can't make it that more simple. If it's anything and everything that is the ODPH, it can be found at odphpodcast.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.